How's it going, YouTube family? I don't think I've ever started a video here by the sea. I usually begin in the mountains. Today, I wanted to try something different. It's also because I'm recharging my batteries in this area, since I felt like relaxing a bit before going to record this video about the last Madreñero. Now we're really going to see the last Madreñero, but first I truly want to thank EcoFlow for supporting the channel in this way, because thanks to them we can continue our adventures without limits. So, as I said, let's get to it. Well folks, I'm almost at Raul's place, who has this wonderful bar here in Pambli. We're in Cangas del Narcea. It's called Los Remedios Restaurant, and here it's not just a place where you can eat really well, but it also has a Madreña factory like I mentioned. The Madreña is a traditional type of footwear, like this large one here. It's a traditional type of footwear from Asturias that's now rarely used. Unfortunately, because people are leaving the rural world, and as a result the madreñeros are disappearing, which is an age-old trade. This footwear has a long history in Asturias, and I'm about to meet Raul at the workshop. You can see how wonderful this place is by looking at the nature around it. I mean, you can't hear anything but the birds and nature. Look how amazing this is. It's wonderful to be here. For the senses, this is incredible. I don't know if you can see the mountains in the distance with the mist. Amazing, the surroundings are wonderful. And well, as I was saying, I'm getting closer to the workshop where he makes all the clogs, and not just clogs. He works on many things made of wood. I think he's around here. How are you, Raul? Are you there? How are you? I finally made it. What a place. It's amazing, man. Impressive, man. I was here once before, but I had never seen it with the sun. It's incredible.
Well, the place, you know, it's beautiful because the views are amazing and there's so much nature, and especially now with all the green and everything.
Impressive. What really struck me was coming in here and seeing all these wooden things, the smell in here, looking at everything around here, which is all antiques.
Well, this is where we keep the finished pieces of everything we work on here in the workshop. And well, if you want, I can show you a little bit how we do everything and what it's for.
Yes, that's actually why I brought them. No one can explain what the Madreña is better than you. I've told them it's the traditional footwear of Asturias, but it also has a rich history, right?
Yes, well, of course, the Madreña, let's see, the Madreña nowadays, well, nowadays it's a piece that's more or less a bit out of use already because, well, there are fewer and fewer people in the villages and all that, right? But it was something essential for life, you know? The Madreña was what got rid of colds and illnesses we have today from the dampness. Because here in Asturias, in the north of Spain, of course, you see it's very humid, it rains a lot, so we had to find something to protect ourselves from the damp and the cold. So what did we do? Well, of course, people used the resources they had, which was wood. So let's try to make something, and that's how the Madreñas were invented. I have some writings I found and so on that date back to the 16th century, you know?
16th century, from the time of the Horios, right? More or less, because they started around that time.
It must have been around then, yes, more or less the time when they started to work with the resources they had, which was wood. They knew what they were doing too. They were true masters, you know? And, well, the Madreña was one of those items that helped prevent diseases and many other things because, well, they were needed for daily life, for working in the fields, for anything. It would insulate you from the ground, keep out the moisture, and besides, it was natural and it was...
Yes, totally sustainable. In fact, like I said, I think it's a very unique type of footwear, and to me, smart. Because the person who designed it not only thought about insulation, but also about the comfort of the...
They thought of just about everything. I always say that these days there's nothing left to invent. Everything has already been invented. Because I don't know where they could get their ideas from, but, well, actually I do know from necessity. Necessity is what forces you to look for things that are practical, as comfortable as possible, and above all, essential for everyday life. I mean, these are items that are needed. The Madreña, like I said, saved lives.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, it was needed.
Back then, you had to keep in mind that getting sick in a village wasn't like it is now. Now that we have a doctor.
As I said, we can go through here. This is where the workshop is.
Huh? Yes, the workshop. That's amazing. I'll turn on a light since enough comes in. But anyway, look, it's just...
where we do the first steps of everything. Well, I don't know. There are probably a lot of people watching you who know that madreñas are handmade using traditional methods. We've had these machines for many years now, since 1965. All of them allowed us to increase production a bit because, well, there was a lot of demand. At the time, there was a lot of demand. And so they allowed us to increase the production of madreñas. I can tell you, for example, about all these machines we have here, that a madreñero working by hand makes 4 pairs a day. And these machines can make that, for example, in particular.
This one we have here?
Yes, this is the copying machine. It shapes the exterior for us.
Look, yes, I can see the little clog here.
That's right, that's where we put the mold, and on the sides we put the clog, I mean the block that we clamp in the saw.
What is this? Before you finish the log, right? I assume?
Well, from these logs you see here on the ground, I mean, I'll explain a little bit.
Yes, you start as you see fit.
This log you see here on the ground, we work with birch wood, which is this one, or alder wood, which is this one. Birch is the one with the white bark, and alder is a bit more reddish and...
You can see it, and this one is much more reddish there.
Yes, so from these logs we have here, well, we take one of these, for example, to explain a bit. Here what we do is shape it from the outside, okay? We keep removing wood from one side, wood from the other, always very carefully, because this is a saw, until we get this shape. This is our first process called tazar.
Tazar.
This is tazar, the madreñas, yes. Once we've done that initial shaping, in the past all of this used to be done with an axe, you know? To shape the madreñas, they were first rough shaped, then left, and finally shaped with the azuera. Here, well, we do it with the saw, and once we have the shape done, we move on to the machine I was telling you about. The machine is a copying lathe. It's a machine like the one used to make keys. In the middle, you put the mold of the size you want to make, and on the sides, you put the rough shaped madreña, right? So this has a blade system, it has some blades, and it has a tracer. The tracer follows the template, and the blades copy it as needed. So, the shape on the outside is made exactly the same as the one we have in the middle.
This is already the most modern procedure we have, but you told me that you work like in the old days, right? You like it much more.
All of this, of course, this speeds up a lot of things and takes away a lot of work, but yes. Let's see, anyway, it shapes it for you and we can make the hole from the inside, but everything else is already handcrafted work.
Of course.
From there, which would be the next step, for example, once we have this one done, the shape on the outside, then we move on to this other one and it makes the hole from the inside. Here we place the mold for the size we want to make, and this blade touches and cuts the inside of the clog formed in the mold.
Which is basically where we would put our foot.
Exactly, that's where we put our foot. What happens? These machines aren't perfect and don't leave everything polished, so from here we do the handcrafted work in another part of the workshop. As you can see over here we have different...
Yes, I'll show you, since everything here is already prepared for you to begin the handcrafted work yourself.
Exactly, that's more or less how they come out of the machine, and from there what we have to do is work on them by hand.
It's impressive to see them like this, raw, so to speak, because of course I'm amazed to see them.
Some people prefer them this way and wear them like that, yes. In fact, here in Cangas de Narcea we have a parador, and one of the decorations they chose was to put a pair of madreñas at the entrance of each hotel room. And they're placed there, and well, a lot of people come to buy that type of madreña from us because they're displayed there and they look really nice. The parador used to be an old convent, and there are some very large hallways where there's an endless line of madreñas placed, so it creates a beautiful optical illusion, and people are a bit amazed by it.
It should catch their attention, especially for those not from Asturias, I think.
And here now, well look, since we're still following the process of working on the madreña, as you've seen there, let's see, we had the shape made and the hole inside. But of course they're left unfinished. They're completely, as you said, raw. So they need to be refined. And to refine them, for example, on the inside...
I'll stand here since the light's hitting me, and I think it should show up pretty well from here.
We're going to use this tool called a yegra for an internal cleaning called yegrado. See? Here we're going to remove wood from the inside.
Quite a job, huh?
Yes, well, it takes work. This one in particular is one of the jobs that takes the most effort and the most time for us. Because here actually you see you can make the clogs look nice on the outside and very eye-catching, but if the inside isn't comfortable and they're not well refined and well finished, then of course it wouldn't really be an effective clog. You see, we're removing material here. So once we have the inside pretty much all done, we have to do it on the bottom, on the sides, on the top, everywhere. Once we've done that, what we do is we're going to start removing wood from the outside, okay? And to remove wood from the outside,
I see you have a bunch of tools there, huh?
yes, well, all these tools, a blacksmith worked with us years ago. He has passed away now, and he made several of them for us. He made them for us because they're impossible to find now. You might only come across them somewhere in a...
I'll probably start noticing in houses I visit from now on.
You'll find one in nearly every house because almost every home had a clog maker.
Yes, every house had someone who...
Yes, in the 60s and 70s I think so, because the clog maker in the house would make the clogs that were needed at home. People tried to learn so they could supply their own footwear. Yes, that happened, you know?
How nice. Of course, well, we've become a bit too comfortable, so to speak, because now we buy everything.
That's right. Everything is convenient, easy, and thankfully we can afford it.
Yes, because in the past, as you said, necessity made you do things.
And as I was saying, well, we were working on the interior, so now we're going to do the exterior. To work on the exterior, we sit here on this bench, which is the araceira bench, and this is a rasero. This is also another tool that almost every house has or used to have, because besides being used for this, it was often used to make handles for farm tools, for household tools, especially for tools, right? It was made because it's a cutting tool that's used for refining and for... And here what we do is remove wood from the outside of the wood, right? So you can see, so it gets refined, so it becomes thinner, to remove any imperfections, and so it gets better and better, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful to see it work, right?
Well, it's like everything else.
Wood has a special charm, right? You always had a knack for it because you worked in hospitality, a clog maker first. Which came first?
First, a clog maker.
A clog maker?
First, yes. This is a traditional family trade. Who started all this? Many people think that maybe it could have been my grandfather, but it wasn't my grandfather. It was my father's brother, who was 22 years older than him, so he was almost like a grandfather. And he was the one who started all of this. He was the one who began making the clogs. He was a clog maker, an artisan, all his life, working by hand. So he was the one who saw that there was a need to make more, and that's when he set up the factory. Like I said, around 1965, he kept improving things, and eventually they had 4 people working and a very high output. Then my father learned from him, started learning from him, learned, and my father took over the factory, bought it, and he stayed with them.
He shared that knowledge with you, right?
I learned from my father. In fact, my father is 74 years old now, and he still works with me.
He still does? He loves it and can't quit, huh?
He likes it, and besides, it's a way to entertain himself and feel useful.
Yes, of course.
And well, let's continue a little bit with the explanation. Once you see that we're removing the wood, the next step is also done with another machine, which is to polish it. We sand it down, and it turns out like this one here. See?
Oh, how beautiful, man. Do they request these more, or the ones we saw earlier? Almost unpolished and with nothing on them.
There's something for everyone, for all tastes.
To each their own?
Of course, because from here on, well, it's polished like this. From here, what we do is varnish it, paint it. We have a variety of colors. We make, well, the traditional one, which is black. Now I'm going to make, for example, one that we have here. Or, well, we also paint in a color like this, fuchsia, a green color. But, well, there are a lot of people who want it like this, natural, who want it unfinished.
About painting it, sorry to interrupt you, but is painting it to protect it, or is it...
Well, back then it wasn't painted. Back then they used to cure them with smoke.
They cured them with smoke?
They cured them with smoke from the birch bark itself, and it was a way of protection and also decoration, let's say, but mainly it was for protection.
That's what I was telling you, because...
It closed the pores with the smoke and the temperature of the bark. When it burned, the pores of the wooden clog would close, and well, it was a bit of protection. After that, they would be decorated. What happened? Then we moved on to varnish. We stopped using smoke, and they were varnished, which was both a way to decorate and also to protect them. The varnish also protects because, well, for all the wood that's outside, it's good to protect it from water, so we varnish it for both protection and decoration. Here you can see that when you got here, it was already underway. In fact, I was going to draw a Madreña. This Madreña is, as I showed you, sanded, freshly polished, and then varnished, right? So now what do? We're going to make a drawing on it. Since we already have it drawn, painted. When we make the drawing, what will remain is the drawing in white, like...
The wood underneath stands out beautiful.
We do that sitting here, okay? We take this tool called a rayador, also made by blacksmiths back in the day. This was made from a scythe blade, and here, well, we make the marks. One of the lines, all the designs we have are our own designs, okay? It's our signature, more or less, so to speak, in our work. Each clog maker had their own designs, right? And we...
It's like their signature, right?
Yes, it's kind of our signature. As you can see, I don't use a template since we know it by heart.
I can see you have impressive skill, huh?
We have a lot of drawings. We have a bunch of them because later we started innovating and making some more drawings. The more work they take, the more, well, the better they look with higher quality, and people appreciate them more too. Normally we buy with our eyes, you know? So the more eye-catching it is, the more, this design I'm making for you is one of the most traditional ones we have. It's a men's design. Men's and women's designs are different. Women's designs are usually more flowery with more details,
Like now, right? Like today, yes, I think that's still true today.
And these were a little simpler, but well, at the same time...
It's impressive that you can do so many things with the same tool, huh?
Yes, well, it has two tips. One tip is the fine one, which is the one I use to make the lines, and then the thick one. And that's how it would look.
Impressive.
This is one of our designs.
How beautiful, huh? Really.
But anyway, as I was telling you, we have different drawings, different colors, and we already went over that together when you came in at the entrance. And here's where we have all the variety of colors, designs, and other things we make. We have the black ones.
Look how amazing this is. Check out the details. I'm picking this one because it caught my attention most. Look at how beautiful the design is, huh?
As I said, the longer it takes, the more work it is, but the result...
I noticed they have small rubber pads.
Yeah, right? That's already the final step of the whole process I showed you. It's putting on the pads. Previously, when there wasn't so much concrete and asphalt, they used to put iron nails. And now, well, we had to go for something that wouldn't slip. So they're rubber pads, a rubber that's a bit special. It has like layers inside, and it grips the ground really well and is very durable. Because the nail would make noise and slip on concrete or asphalt.
Of course. One thing I want to mention, because there are a lot of people watching us, people from Asturias, is that this footwear, as we were saying, is very well designed, and that's because people in the past, if you had to go out to take care of the animals and there was mud or water, like we mentioned before, they're very simple. You don't have to take your shoes off. The house slippers, you would just have them like this, right at the door of your house.
I'm telling you, this is a size 37 Madreña. With your size 37 slipper, you're wearing it and you want to go outside, it's raining, you want to go to the garden. With your house slipper, you go out, you put it inside, it's already fitted on the inside for that size, and you go out. You do whatever work you want, you come back, you take it off without having to use your hands or anything. And that's it.
And with the same house slippers, you wouldn't have to take anything off. That's why I think it's very smart. They already thought of it, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Of course, look, before there were slippers, because of course we're talking about the 16th century when there were no slippers, people wore these with thick socks called escarpines.
Escarpines, huh?
Yes, they were usually made from serge, which came from flax. It was a product made by working the flax plants, and from that they made serge, and with the serge they made the escarpines.
Thanks for explaining this. I hadn't heard of it or considered it before.
In fact, we have them here. I can show you. Well, I have them up here. The madreñas for escarpines had those shapes. The one on the right is for men, and the one on the left is for women. They were madreñas with those points. They were very unique.
How beautiful. I'd never seen them before.
Yes, they're called madreñas de escarpín.
Did you make those too?
We made those too. Well, yes, I made them here. Well, actually, sometimes we make them for dance groups, folk groups that want to wear traditional footwear. And yes, we do make them ourselves sometimes too. But, well, only by request, because they're a lot of work and they're narrower, smaller clogs, because they're worn, of course, with a sock that takes up less space than the clog itself. And, well, besides the clogs, we make everything that...
Yes, I was taking a panorama of them.
Here are some wooden jugs. We have a utensil here that's very typical from here, from where we're from Cangas. Narcea, which is the cacho, this is for drinking wine. It's unique and typical of Cangas de Narcea. And there's another area, which is French Brittany, where they also have the cacho, because these are remnants left to us by the Celts. The Celts, at any celebration, any gathering, whenever they got together, they would always eat and drink together, and they would drink from the same bowl. Everyone would drink because this is about drinking from the same bowl. I drink, then I pass it to you, and well, later studies showed that besides the fraternity, brotherhood, and friendship they had, it was also a form of immunization. By everyone drinking from the same bowl, they would exchange saliva, which today, well,
with cider.
well, it's something similar, and so they exchanged fluids and built up immunity to one another little by little.
And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this custom we have with the cider glass here comes from that, inherited from back then, now with glass, but...
We're talking about the Celts. Exactly, yes. For them, first and foremost, it was about friendship and brotherhood. I drink from the same bowl, jug, or whatever as you because of that sense of friendship, you know? And then, but later it was seen that it also had to do with the issue of contagion.
How curious. If I hadn't talked to you, I don't think I would have made the connection.
Well, that's how it is, just like I'm telling you.
Impressive.
This is something, it's really strange, well, because Cangas de Narcea is the only place in Asturias where we make wine. And it's a tradition of drinking wine from a cacho. It's unique and specific to here and to French Brittany, as I told you. In Logien, in French Brittany, there's an inter-Celtic festival where people from Asturias bring cachos to drink with locals.
Oh, and the wine here is traditional to this area, right?
It's traditional from this area?
So you have a designation of origin then?
Exactly, it's a designation of origin.
Well, anyone who comes to visit you here is more than welcome, really. You eat very well in this restaurant. It's not just because, well, actually, I'll show you some pictures later, but the food here is amazing. I really recommend you come. You have a guided tour to see all of this. They'll show you absolutely everything, just like what you've seen here, but even more in depth.
Exactly, that's why we're here to answer any questions.
All right, Raul. Well, I'm going to ask you a few more things, and they're related to the topic of tools. The variety of tools you have, were they all inherited, or did you have to do some research to recover them?
Normally they are inherited. We accumulated them over time, as I mentioned before. A blacksmith used to work with us, and he made copies of all the tools we had, so we kept making more. Because he always used to say, the day I'm gone, you won't be able to find them. And that's how it was. He made us yegras, he made us raseros, he made all these drawing tools for us, which are gouges. Well, some gouges you can find in any hardware store, but for example, the engraving tools, like the one I showed you before, it's impossible to find them. Nobody makes these, and well, some types of gouges that we have specifically made for our work are also made by us. Well, there are things that...
You're doing preservation work?
Exactly.
Because it's really a shame that this craft, because there is demand for it here in Asturias, you are the only registered Madreña maker. I mean, yes, who is paying his taxes and making his Madreñas and selling them, because...
I'm unique, I'm the only one.
People claim there are more Madreña makers, but I mean those who actually pay taxes.
There's no one else left. I mean, just me. In fact, in 2019, before all the COVID stuff, I was given an award in Oviedo at the Extension Fair. Actually, they gave me 3 awards. Radio Televisión Española, the Oviedo City Council, and Caja Rural recognized me for being the only officially registered person. I asked why they called me, and they said it's because I'm the only one. They looked around and there was no one else.
And do they value that here in Asturias, or do you feel a bit abandoned in general?
No, it's not valued at all. Here, just like everyone else, we're just a number in the Social Security system. So the day I deregister from Social Security, no one is going to ask what I used to do or what I didn't. A profession will disappear and that's it. What will happen? In 15 or 20 years, they'll come and say, sir, as an older man, why don't you explain to us how this was done? Because we need to recover this. No, this needs to be done now.
Some things, once lost at that level, can't be recovered.
These things need to be done while we're still alive and working on them. I make a living from this, I work at it, and I'm going to keep going as long as I can keep making a living from it. I'll keep going. So here it's open, but well, the political authorities and so on just don't pay attention to anything. To them, we basically don't exist.
It was actually hard for me to find your bar since it's in Pambli, but the busy Cangas del Narcea road makes it challenging.
That's right. We've actually been fighting this issue for over 10 years, trying to get them to put up signs or do something for us.
Not a single sign, they don't put them up on the road.
On the S15 road in Javita, for them to put up a sign, well, to the restaurant, the craft workshop, something at least.
It's unbelievable, man.
The bureaucracy is impossible. Politicians say yes, but it's always no, and you never see results. That's just how everything is. So, well, those are battles you've already lost.
I'm the last traditional wooden clog maker who's actually paying taxes and running a rural bar, which is very complicated these days.
In fact, people should value it by now, okay, in Asturias, but especially in this very municipality because we're the only ones, I'm the only one. And on this road, well, there's another type of craft, which is the pottery from Lamas del Muro, so hey, someone should look out for us too. Well, nothing at all. I mean, it's like they don't care about us at all.
I hope that as a result of this video something can be done, or someone decides to take action, because
let's say yes, because, well, all these things, it's a shame for them to be lost.
it's our history.
And them disappearing, I mean, they just keep disappearing, and it's our history, exactly.
It makes me very sad because a sign costs nothing, and anyone passing through Cangas del Narcea, a well-known place, could come here and have a meal. Show them this whole paradise you have here, especially for people who love wood, but above all for those who want to learn about Asturian tradition.
It's history and culture.
Of course.
This is culture because these were essential pieces in their time, and now, well, they should be valued for what they were. For us to be here today, our ancestors had to have this footwear to live.
And today we don't even honor them by saying, let's keep it alive.
On the contrary, I mean...
Yeah, they make everything difficult. The last thing I want to ask you is, do you encourage young people to get into this kind of business?
Yes, and it's very complicated because, of course, who teaches you? I mean, a few years ago, they tried to set up a workshop school here in Cangas Narcea, and they called me to see if I could go teach there, and I said I had no problem with that. What happens is that, well, all of that always ends up the way people usually say.
Up in the air?
And well, the project was never carried out. This is hard to learn. It's a difficult trade to learn.
Do you consider teaching even here? If someone was really involved and said, hey, look, I know your work and your teaching costs money.
Here it would be a bit complicated because this is a place to work.
It would need to be more educational.
You would have to give some theoretical classes on types of wood, tools, sharpening and cotton. You have to start a bit from the basics.
I personally believe that there is no excuse, neither money nor anything at all, for knowing that you are one of the few who has this native skill and can teach young people, and that they don't even give you a grant just to say, look, I'm going to expand and I'm going to set up a training workshop.
Nothing. In fact, never in my life, neither my father nor I, have we ever received any kind of grant or help of any kind. Sometimes they send you a letter saying, well, there are these grants, but at no point do they get involved saying, hey, let's try to improve the workshop. Deep down, I don't really want them either. The only thing I ask is that they help us with spreading the word, damn it, so that people know about it. That's it. I don't ask for anything else. I'm not someone who thinks that things need subsidies to work.
No, they just have to let us work.
What you need is that for the authorities to help you with the basics, like helping you with signage, helping you spread the word, so that the tourism agencies know the truth. Because you go to a tourism agency, you ask about the Madreñas. The other day it happened to us. Some clients came, damn. Good thing we ran into each other because we went to the tourism agency, the tourism office, and they sent us to Serrero to look for Madreñas. Come on. Those things are just like that, you know? Oh well.
Well, that's a shame. Well, Raul, I really appreciate your explanation, and now I'm going to check out the food you have in this bar. I'll take some shots of it because we're going to eat. So that's it, we're heading over there.
Because God wanted you to be Asturian, you were born in this land, get to know it, and tell the world about the wonders it holds. It doesn't matter if it's a city or a village, valley, mountain or sea, Asturias is by right a natural paradise. I've never seen such a delightful little land. Come with me, I want to invite you for some cider in Villaviciosa. I've never seen such a delightful little land. Thank you.